Hello.
We should adjust the mic stand.
I'm good. Thanks for having me here, Jaynie. I'm pretty stoked to be like the first reader of the inaugural 851 in Exile series. So I'm going to read like a couple of poems that were my chapbook when I made in college, and then I'll read some from my new stuff that I'm working on. The first one's called Beligata. I lived in a house where the flowers bloomed like Chinese characters outside the window. Nightly, the branches snuck in, scratched my cheek while I slept. They fondled my hair through, and through the bars there was rainwater, dripping lightly into the cool, airy room. I lived in a house where the whap-whap of cotton yards beaten against wet ground woke me to the window in the gleaming morning, where the dappled, powdery sunlight flickered on the acid burning brightly on the red cement. I lived in a house where autism blossomed in pairs of awkward joints. They were all knees and elbows, those boys, their mother with their teeth, and her widow's thin white thumb knotted about her swelling knuckles. When they died, the room was quiet, like the crazy chained to the window. I lived in a house where wives and daughters with green eyes meowed at the one daughter whose madness was to love and be loved, without clothes, with screams, so they kept her locked away until one day she up and died. I lived in a house where the crumbling stone wall bore peeling manifestos of Marxist-Leninist sentiments. Inkilab Zindabad, the revolution lives on through fists pumping, teeth breaking, blood trickling slowly from his head like the steady dissolution of memory. I lived in a house where a woman with black plum skin lined my white little feet in red ink from a green glass jar, pulled out a bamboo mat, rough and dyed, the fan in a lazy whir, lulling me to sleep on the floor in the depths of a dog howling in pain or love. Next one's called Lacunosa or Meowling. In 1987, everything was ready to begin. That chimera of lines and clear boxes forming. What is meaning but meaning? Very well. It did not erupt in order. Many things erupted along the way into swans. You are seizures and I am patterns. You are quartz and I am pearl. You did unfurl at dawn into a white morning glory filled with drawings. So beautiful as to be insulting. So fucking wonderful, friend. This one's called On Later Falling Apart. In one apartment, light streams, warm and blue, through a moon. Lapis smoke swirls and spreads like the memory of a distant sound, while the TV picks up the lost pieces. Outside, a galaxy sizzles like a fried egg, picked out the emptiness before chewing its nebulous albumin. I would like to fall deep into its gaseous lips, silky oil slick, blooming hot and thick. On what did Atlas stand then, when the dust sparkled to stars and oaks shot up through cracks in reasoning and eggshells? So those are all my old ones. So these are like stuff that I'm working on my new manuscript. They're like based off of these photographs by Zoe Strauss, who's this really cool photographer. This one's called Lights. Come here. Let me teach you an object lesson. The bite of jealousy in watching someone else. Fuck me in the same as a hard slab ringing red bone. You love me at this point, at this one, and here. All these points can't make up a line toward anything more. Perfect moments lack the dimension needed for motion. Presidential nominee supporter. The dual nature of brightness is the dual gate of a smile. We bared our teeth all the same as invitation or as threat, simmering a bone for soup to later use as knife. Man's back. Patterns of transparency in nature are manifold. The pebbled body of a lizard shifting like light in trash can, the gray checkerboard background in Photoshop, the crepey muscles around the eye, a speech saying that we had to pay off the pimp to build this school. They don't give receipts. And yes, I did smash that particular dish against that particular part of the wall because I was feeling bad. And yes, I was feeling bad because I wasn't sure if I would ever see you again. The way your pupils transformed from pinpricks to an aperture capable of swallowing an entire sea. Blown out Venetian blinds. I have been plucking matches from these flowers for years, waiting for my wooden harvest to yield some fire. You ran by with a skateboard and smashed in your neighbor's door. While the cellular processes signaled cell necrosis, I struck a match on your grip tape and threw it in. To hell with all of you.
Yeah.
Holding crack. Leaping from one thought across a stretch of land, children discuss the words plethora and litany. Paint my toes with rolled up dollar bills stuffed up your nose. Join me in a circular code. Produce for me small stone bears of drawings. I'll be here dropping with strangers in a grove. This one's my favorite because it's this picture. Well, whatever. All right. It's called Mattress Flip. Zoe Strauss shot 2 little boys in this very sad but beautiful picture. You see these 2 boys laughing, right? Well, one of them is jumping on these mattresses, hamming it up because Zoe Strauss is very pretty, and the other kid is laughing because ham. And you can just hear that click, 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 click of the camera, a softly devastating machine gun. 2 years later, the laughing boy was shot again through his thin little chest, and this time died. This is why this is a very sad but beautiful picture. If you break the skin. Over the years, I've built up a substantial graveyard of dead butterflies in my stomach. They decompose and send up a disappointing scent. I hide it with gum. You must come in like a keen lie through this slit. If I looked closer at your body vibrating on this taut frequency, I could pull out a sequence of notes, a plinked tempura string. The silver glint of the freight handles flash by on the shaking car of your city days. I grab, nails out, you come in. Vanessa. First, let me start out by saying this, and I don't say this often enough to you, but listen this time because I can't repeat this for you no matter how much you beg me to. I know you don't like it when I smoke, but fuck you, you know. Last weekend was terrible, but it's always good to know that you will always be there for me like that, like when you picked me up from that party where I was fearing for my life yet again. It's always something, isn't it? No, it's not that I love you or anything like that at all, or anything. McDonald's. McDonald's, you have mangled these people's bodies as a force has crushed your arches on a blue sky in Biloxi, Mississippi. Twin beds on Control Street. When I got here, it was hot here, and it's hot now too, but less so. With the beds pushed apart and your sweaty bread body turning away like that from me. Maybe it's the light? It's hurting your eyes? Maybe it's the way I had really lightly, I thought, and casually suggested that maybe we could do that again. You didn't like that, I thought, since I think your eyes welled up and you sobbed almost, and I remember thinking, man, this girl is really unhappy about this. But the room cost me $50, and we can't just leave without coming to some kind of grasping of why it's okay for me to do what I intend to keep on doing. This is my last poem. It's called... Your future starts here. As a pig hung upside down from hooks, it saw for a brief second the glowing radiance of its own true nature. It then died at the pig equivalent of peace.